Hi and welcome. I'm John and this is Unique Wargaming Terrain. Guys, welcome back. This is the Monday painting video. For everyone that's new, how does it work? Well, each weekly Wednesday I'll show you guys a group of models, squads, units, HQs, single models, monsters, etc. And you guys vote on what you want me to paint. Now, some of you are eagle-eyed. You will see what won the vote for last week. So for all my regulars here, guys, I feel love, thank you very much. I'll see you in a second. Right, so as you can see, it's this monstrosity, the Bloodthirster model, the Kit Bash Bloodthirster model. Now, this is an amazing model to paint. I'm overly excited to start working on this monstrosity of a bad boy. There's only one thing I need to do first of all. Two things I need to do first of all. One is the camera's not quite right. Two, I need to clear all this off of here because this isn't to do with this, but I need to figure out what colours I'm going to use. And then the next thing I need to do is I need to paint black trim around the base. Now, sorry about the aeroplane going over its head. The base here, base feet, is actually, I used the technical paint first time. I'm going to my plan is to give it a dry brush just to see how it looks and everything else. And my first thoughts with it is, I actually quite like it. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to clear the table, give this a black trim, and adjust this camera because it's slightly off, but I've got the lighting coming in from this side is a bit better, but I just need to sort the angle out. So I'll see you guys in a second. Right, so done that. I've also Baneblade Brown across the dry brush across the technical base, and I tell you what, I actually really like that technical paint. I wasn't too sure of it when I first put it on, but I got it in the Imperial magazine, so I said, you know what, screw it, let me give it a go. I'll do Daemons based in that, and I actually really like it. I actually really like it. What I'm going to do next, somebody can see there's some cheeky nurglings on the scene. What I'm going to do next with the base, I'm going to give it a dry brush with some fiery orange, Troll Slayer fiery orange. I don't know if that's going to make it good or if it's going to, I don't know, but I just, that's the colour I'm going to go for. And the reason there's cheeky nurglings around, because it's such a huge model that when I'm waiting for stuff to dry, I can be just finishing off these guys. Like these guys, all they need to do is the base painted and a bit of Baneblade Brown on the gravel. All they need is a dry brush with some moot green, and then they'll be finished. So instead of them sitting there, I said I'll do that whilst I'm waiting for stuff to dry on the big guy. I've got Necron Warriors to do the same as well, bring them over and just do a few bits on them whilst I'm waiting for stuff to dry. But I'm going to go with the Troll Slayer orange. So dry brush the base of that. You don't need to see me do that. I did it off camera. But yeah, just want to show you where I am. So I'll come back to you in a minute, guys. Right, so at the moment, all I have in my wet palette is some Rhinox Hide, some corn red. That was abandoned black, just to do base trim. But you guys want to have a look at how it looks. That's how it looks. So I think it looks okay. I didn't think I went over the top with the Troll Slayer orange at all. So what I'm going to start with, then if I just go for the big base brush, if I should get a layer brush and do I think I should do the base brush first of all for the body, because I think the body's going to be a bit crazy trying to do any other way. So some corn red, and water it down a little bit because I want to just try and get as nice coverage on it as possible. Some big areas to do on this model. Oh shit, so much. having a problem of trying to keep the whole model in camera shot because it's so huge. So I'm going to go off camera and do the whole rest of the skin. Right, so giving him the red, the corn red. I wasn't too sure where to go stop on the wings and where not to stop, so I just did a little bit where it joins on. There's a few little bits I keep seeing that I've missed, and I just have to go back over that red with the red corn red, but it's not a big issue. Now I'm going to go to Rhinox Hide, and I'm going to I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do bits like the strap on his arms, strips on the horns, bits of cloth here, anything like that, bits hanging off the skulls there, and his fur, all the fur on his back, on his tail, his belly fur, leg fur, all with Rhinox Hide. I'm going to do that off camera because I'll do a little touch now, show you a little touch, and then I'll go off camera. I'm not using the big brush anymore because it's too difficult to get into the nooks and crannies. This model is huge. So I'm going to go off camera and do the rest. So there's bits of fur everywhere. Right, so here we are. I actually took Rhinox flesh. I took Rhinox flesh, and what I've done with that is just the top and bottom of that wrapping around his leg to make it look like flesh, and on the back of the robes there to make it look like a flesh. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for, I'll get my hands into it, Guilliman flesh contrast paint, and this is for the wings. So I'm going to get a shade brush. It's a lot quicker and easier with a shade brush. And I'm going to do, I'll do one wing on camera and then go off camera and do the rest of the other wing. Just literally get all this in here. All here, every part of it. This is, the wings are made of the old plastic they used to use. It's a big difference in the quality of plastic. So I am actually going to go off camera and do the rest of it. Right, so I've added Guilliman flesh to the wings, okay, and to the little bits on his legs over there. And then I've got some Rhinox flesh, and I forgot to do the horns. So then the horns on his head, and the horns on his little thing on his stomach, because I'm going to his little trophy rack around his waist, sorry. So I should do Rhinox flesh on here as well. Actually, might do that screamer. Actually, might do that screaming skull, yeah. So I'm going to whack some screaming skull on his little bone on the middle of his head, because I want to get skeleton horde onto these bits. So I'll come back to you in a second. I had to stop myself there because I put the screaming skull on. I done a little touch up on the horns of the screaming skull just to brighten up a little bit, and then I did a little bit of paint on the brush, so I just started dry brushing the skulls, and I was like, no, I better stop myself. So I'll stop myself. I got a few to get the paint off the brush. Now I'm going with some Rattling Grime, and this is for the hoofs on his hoofed foot. I do love this colour. It's not quite a black, but it does give you a really like dirty looking. It's a Bloodthirster, so he's going to walk across the body of thousands of victims. So his hooves are not going to be all nice and clean and shiny, and they are going to be a horrible colour. Sorry, I'm not even doing it on camera because the model's so big, I'm just blocking everything out. So one problem with the models this size, it is hard to try and film them. I remember seeing someone else paint a big model before, and they were like, I keep forgetting about the camera, and not even forgetting about the camera, just blocking the camera with the sheer size of the model. Just going around the edge here, just adding a bit of the grime contrast around the edge where the foot meets the hoof. And just do the same thing again, just to make sure I've got a little bit, and just to blend the two bits in nicely. Now it's going to be time for Skeleton Horde, and I'm going to cover myself in contrast paint. What a clown. I'm back in a second, guys. Most people spill none oil. Mine is the Rattling Grime all over my hand. I literally had the pot, and I was trying to put the lid on. I tilted it back to put the lid on whilst I was trying to wash the brush, and it just spilled out the back of it. Anyway, now it's on to some Skeleton Horde, and I'm going to get all the horns and those lovely little pieces, just to add a bit of colour to it. With this Skeleton Horde, it also breaks up the face a little bit, so it's not all just red. One thing, you know, when you're doing a model, especially something this size, you want to break up as many little pockets of colour as you can, so it's not just big blobs of red or whatever it is. If you're painting a Great Demon of Nurgle, you don't want to have big blobs of green. Just want to try and break it up as much as you can by adding some reds and browns and whatever else. But with this model, it's going to be some browns and some brass and some gold. Keep knocking the wings on everything. Can feel another disaster coming on soon. Oh dear me. These little bits as well. Be careful that it doesn't run down the horn, because the horn is vertical point. I don't want it running down and pulling at the bottom. these tips a little. Need not to pie over. Oh dear me, it's not a good sight. So what I'm going to do now, so I'm going to take some of this skeleton horde. There's all bumpy bits here, so I'm going to sort of feed it in there to just bring it up a little bit and just run it along. Just to give me a little tiny bit of shading, nothing too serious, but just right, that's all the contrast paint that I think I'm going to need. So I'm going to leave that to dry now and then come back and start doing some more bits and pieces. I think the next thing for me to do will be to come in and dry brush, Screamer Skull dry brush all of the skulls and start bringing them up, because there's quite a lot. Get his teeth a little Screamer Skull as well. Yeah, so I'll come back to you in a bit. Right, so first of all, there is somebody mowing the grass, so if you hear that in the background, I do apologise. So I've given all of the skulls a quick dry brush, yeah, and I tell you what, I absolutely love the skulls here, absolutely love them. I did give them a few little going over here and there, just to, because Screamer Skull's layer paint, just to bring them up a bit more. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with, I don't like the way the Guilliman flesh has come out on the wings, don't like that at all, but that's not the paint or the sprays or anything like that. That is actually the plastic, because it's the very old plastic, and that's how it, unfortunately, but that's not an issue because we can dry brush that and bring that up. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some lead belcher, I'm going to start locking in all of the metallic pieces. So I'm going to start with, actually picks up the shade brush, one idiot. I don't know why it felt so big in my hand. Actually picking up the layer brush, sorry. And I'm going to go with the silver, and I'm going to start locking it in on his weapon. And again, I'm not going to do every single piece of silver on camera. I'm going to do a little bit of it and then come back and then go off and do the rest. You guys don't need to sit and watch me do half an hour's worth of silver work. The cow's crying away. I'm going to go off camera and do the rest. I'll come back to you when that's done. Right, so I've got the silver on him, and there, his blades, and his whip, over and ahhing. But anyway, then his shield's on his arms as well, and his knees. So now I'm going to go with some beaten copper, just block some of that in. So the first bit I'm going to block in is going to be the handle of his whip. Now I've got still resting on a piece of polystyrene, I don't need that anymore. So we've got a nice solid base. Yeah, it's on camera. Just making sure it's on camera. Again, this beaten copper will break up all of the model. So I'm going to do like all these little bits in here. give it the direct look. So I'm going to just whack up at one end, just drag the paint over. I try and get on the silver. So I'm going to go off camera and do that. Right, so I've locked in all the copper. Yeah, as you can see, it's looking amazing. I've done it in a way where I put the copper on in one spot, and then I sort of just keep taking from that spot. So what happens is it goes a bit silvery and a bit of a tint of copper. It's a bit hard to explain, but if you look at the whip, you can see as you turn the light on it shimmers in different places, which is fantastic. Now, no Khorne demon, Great Demon or other, would be complete without some gold. So I've got some Retributor armor on the palette, and I'm going to just start adding some bits of gold in. One thing I know I'm going to paint gold is the big massive Khorne symbol on his axe. Just because his blade is just pure liquid living gold. I don't even know if that's a real thing or not, but I've just said it, so some people are going to start panicking and go, John, but there's blood spatters on it. Yeah, don't worry about that. We're going to sort that out afterwards. We've got a perfect colour for that. What I'm going to do is just put the gold on. Well, I don't think I left enough pieces to be Retributor armor, but it's not a big issue. Just ready for what I've done. And a little bit on the leg there, nothing too, just around the edge of the eyes. I've done a bit of this on here. And his axe head. So now I've got some nun oil. I'm going to wash down all the silver armor, silver weapons and all that. Just take the shine off of them. Give them a nice look. No problem using this sprue piece. It does just paint just does love to run off of it. So you get the idea. Right, so now I've got some Warlock Purple, and I'm going to take care of those eyes. So I wet my brush down. I'm going to walk the Warlock Purple down a little bit on the wet palette, just so it's a very thin consistency. I'm going to come into the eyes. These are massive, massive eyes. So the first thing I want to do is get in there, give them a nice little touch. Need a bit more. Now I'm happy with how easy the eyes are. Make sure that I'm on camera. Right, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a nice bit that isn't watered down, and I come in and do this tongue. Nice big purple tongue hanging out of his mouth, avoiding all the teeth. Now I might need to go over that tongue again, just because I watered it down a little bit too much. So now I need to leave all that to dry. But with the exception of the teeth, I mean, you could leave the teeth the way they are, you could paint them white. with the exception of the teeth. That is battle ready. Okay. Maybe about that tongue. See how it looks when it dries. But exception of the teeth, which, you know, it's not difficult to do. Again, you could leave them blank. That is about ready. Now, the only thing that I would probably do different is these guys, when I xenophiled the wings to use to give them flesh, these got hit as well. So I'd probably give these guys a skeleton horde brush just to darken them down. But as you all know, those of you who are my regulars here, that may be battle ready, but we'll take it to the next level now. Okay, so I'm going to leave the nunneral to dry and leave that to dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back and take it to the next level. So I've changed my wet palette. I have a fresh wet palette. And the first thing I do is get some Wazdaka red. Okay, it's a layer paint, and I'm going to lay out all the red, all the skin. Now what I want to do is try and bring them up so you can see. So on his hand here, I just want to do a gentle across the fingers and across the hand, just to lighten it up a little bit, but not take too much away from it. Same with the muscle, the bicep bits in here. I just want to do a little ball of the Wazdaka red so it goes into the darker red. I'm going to get that set up on my palette first. Right, so what I'm going to do with the Wazdaka red is come in here and just like that. Yeah, now it looks really bright at the moment, but it will dull itself down. Give you a look. I mean, it looks brighter now because it's still wet, but when it dries it will dull down. I'm going to crack on with the rest of it and I'll come back to you. Right, so what I've done Screaming Skull on the teeth, I've done Skeleton Horde on the skulls hanging off the wings, and on this thing on his shoulder. Now on the wet palette I have some white scars, I have some Phoenix yellow, I have some Mournfang brown, and in front of me I have the Tesla blue contrast paint. So I'm going to get a bit of that, and I'm going to pick out all of the eyes on this shield. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit, drop a little bit in his eyes. Look at the shield, sorry. Sprays up the silver on him, even though I've washed it down and everything else. So now I come to my favourite part of models, my dry brushing. So I'm going to start with getting the dry brush ready and deciding what colour. I'm probably going to go with Mournfang brown first, I'd imagine. Right, so I go Mournfang brown first, and I'm going to dry brush all of the fur with Mournfang brown, but as the fur comes down I'm going to brush upwards. So a bit more of a hit on it. So I'm going to go off camera and do the rest of it. Just the fur now. Right, so now I'm going to go for a risky part. I'm going to go with the yellow, and I'm going to dry brush the skin with the yellow. Now the yellow I'm using is a layer paint, so it will dry down. It will dull down. These hands. It's not a heavy dry brush I'm doing, it's just a light dry brush. Just to break the red up a little bit more. Right, that yellow dry brush, I think it's a bit bold, but it's nice. It's not, when I say bold, I don't mean it's bright and vibrant, I just mean it really, it's a bold move to do, but it's actually really good, I think anyway. So now what I'm going to do is take a Screaming Skull, because everything looks good with a Screaming Skull dry brush. And I'm going to start with dry brushing the leather, give that a good hit. This head's going to get a good hit. All of the skulls are going to get hit. And even the fur bit's going to get a light dry brush with it as well. And now I've already done the skulls on the with the Screaming Skull, but I just want to give it another little touch up here and there. Sorry, I'm just wandering off camera. The hoofs. Here's where the magic starts. And I get the tips. I say the tips, I'm going to try and get the tips of the fur. But at the same time, sandy, just try and get it, not saturated, but just try and get it so it takes away from that brown. Right, so I Screaming Skull the wings and this little bit, the fur. So now what I'm going to do is some white skulls white. Some of you are going to be screaming, John, show us, show us, show us. I'm trying to hold off on showing you the whole thing because I want to surprise you at the end with the pretty pictures. But I'm going to have some white skulls white now. And I'm going to dry brush pretty much all of the skulls. That's the first thing that's going to dry brush. I'm going to go camera and dry brush the rest. Right, there's only one more colour to do, and that's this. It's very old paint. Now, this is what it looks like. It's lovely. Those of you that are regulars here would know. It gives you a nice blood effect. So I'm going to be slapping it all over the axe here. When they made this paint, it was never designed to be blood or look like blood. But it just does by chance. So we are done. I'm absolutely in love with this model. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm so happy I kit bashed it, and I'm so happy that you guys voted on it to be painted, which I knew you guys would. Now the rules for these are just been leaked, or just been, you know, not leaked but previewed. It's a toughness 8 model now with 20 wounds. Absolutely, so it's tougher than Dreadnought, especially Dreadnought. That's absolutely fantastic. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Let's build this channel up. Let's get it growing. I'm going to bring you down and show you some pretty pictures. Until next time, guys, take it easy. See you later.